It has been said that small changes make big change, and a new report found our daily consumption adds up fast. So to help us understand our personal responsibility when it comes to carbon emissions, we are joined by Lloyd Alter. He's the author of Living the 1.5-Degree Lifestyle, Why Individual Climate Action Matters More Than Ever. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Let's start with this report. Swiss investment bank Credit Suisse has introduced a three-print, basically on how many mature trees it would take to offset our daily actions. It's a lot more than you think. So over a year, video gaming on a high-end PC just once a week adds up to 11 birch trees. This is an interesting way to keep track of this. Taking a shower every day, that's 8 birch trees. And a glass of milk every day equals 11 birch trees. So why do you think that this is such a helpful tool in putting our emissions into context on the day-to-day?
Well, mostly because people, if you tell them it's a kilogram of carbon dioxide, they don't understand what that means. I mean, it's a gas. You just can't pick it up and hold it. So if I tell you that there's 80 kilograms of carbon in making my iPhone, you say, my iPhone doesn't weigh 80 kilograms. So when you put it into trees, it's something that people can wrap their heads around and understand, because everybody knows what a tree looks like.
I really like this equation. It really does help you to think about it as you're going about your day-to-day activities. We know that we have less than a decade to keep global heating to 1.5 degrees to avert catastrophe. This is what we're told. In your book, Living the 1.5-Degree Lifestyle, you say many of us have to cut our individual carbon footprints by more than 80% by 2030. So that seems like a lot to people, and it feels like it would be a drastic change to their lifestyle. But let's start easy. What's the biggest offender on an average household?
Well, the biggest offender for Canadian households is basically their cars. We buy big cars, we put a lot of gas in them, we drive longer distance than other people. And so for us, that's the single biggest thing. And obviously that goes way down if people start doing things like biking and walking instead of driving, and e-bikes are going to be the next big thing. And also electric cars cuts it a bit. But that's the single biggest one.
What are some of the things that people can do on a day-to-day basis to lighten their tree print?
Well, for one thing, everybody says, oh, God, you've got to go vegan to cut your carbon footprint. But in fact, when you look at the carbon emissions from different kinds of foods, it's all mostly the red meat, the ruminants. And if you cut red meat, you could still eat a bit of chicken, you can still eat a bit of pork, you can eat these other meats that have much, much lower carbon impact. And so meat and dairy are the biggest things in diet. Living in smaller spaces. So many, 74% of Canadians live in suburban houses that are exposed on all sides to the weather, and they really take a lot of fuel. Now, if they're not burning gas, if they're burning clean Ontario electricity or Quebec electricity, it's not a big deal, because that's mostly carbon-free. But gas is the next big problem for most Canadians.
I love this idea of taking it into bite-sized pieces in order for us to be able to be responsible, but also, not drastically alter our lifestyles. Why is it so important to focus on these little steps rather than waiting for big government action or intervention?
Well, for one thing, studies that both the tree print and my book were based on come down to that 72% of our carbon footprint comes from our lifestyle choices, what we buy, where we live, where we've chosen to live, things like that. And so when we make these changes in our lifestyles, they add up. Remember, you've got to look at it from a consumer point of view rather than a production point of view. Everyone says the 100 oil companies are responsible for all the emissions, but we're buying what they're selling and we're putting it in our gas tanks. So if we switch to an electric world with clean electricity, if we reduce our consumption of high-impact foods like red meat, we eat more local food to get rid of all the shipping and the cold chain of bringing it here, then we can significantly reduce our footprints without changing our lives dramatically. And that's what I'm trying to get through in the message in my book. But so much of that has to do with, where have you decided to live? If you have to drive 5 kilometers to get a liter of milk, you've got a problem.
Lloyd Alter, you've certainly put it into great context for us. Easy to learn, easy to change. Thanks so much.
A pleasure.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.